Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. Today I am coming to recommend the books that you should gift an epistolary lover. Let's get into it. So for those of you not familiar, an epistolary is a book that's written in letter form. And I have some heavy hitters today that I want to recommend for y'all. Most of these books have full reviews up on my channel, and I will put them in the cards. But let's also just talk about the epicness of these works. The first one I have is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This one is so good. It's actually written in the same style as a book that I'll get to later on this recommendation list. But this is a book that the writer Ta-Nehisi Coates pens to his son, and it really delves into his experience as growing up as a young black man in America, the trauma of having one of his closest college friends murdered by a black police officer in a wealthier black area in Maryland in particular, and what that did to him and how that shifted and changed so much of his life. He also talks to him full circle at the end about his time in France and what that meant. So it really is a work that for me is top tier. Like, I had to stop myself from crying in public the first time I read it. And even though obviously I didn't grow up as a young black man in America, I did grow up as a young black woman in America. And just the experiences of girlhood and navigating through the hood and all that that meant, especially when you're someone who maybe doesn't like the same things that you're surrounded by, right? How does that make you different? How does that cause you to have connection with folks around you? And what does that mean as you go forth and navigate throughout the world? How do you carry that with you? What lessons do you learn? How do you try to go back, give back? How do you grapple with understanding everything that has occurred? And how do you place that within the larger American social structure and the racial dynamics and prejudices that you may sometimes experience? It's a heavier book, but it's so worth it. It's so well written. Ta-Nehisi Coates is one of my favorite contemporary writers. He's one of the select few writers where I don't care what he writes, I'm gonna buy it. I still have his book. I think it's The Water Dancer, I think is the name. I haven't read it, but I'm going to. And so, but I just will always just purchase the book and get to it when I can. So if you know someone who loves that epistolary style where it is a book written in letter form and it has that deeper level of intimacy, this is one that I cannot recommend enough. The next book is a popular one right now, but is iconic in general, and that is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. And I recently rewatched my review of that, and I really did love that review. So that's one of the ones I highly recommend you all check out, especially during this time when the movie version of the stage play will be coming to theaters later this month. So definitely check that out and prepare for the movie. But it is one that follows these characters, most specifically Celie, through the trials and tribulations of life. There's so many other fantastic characters that I also talk about in my review, but Alice Walker does a masterful job in character development and watching these people go through different circumstances in life and how it shapes all of them. But the cool thing here is that, again, it is written in letter form. So we don't always get all of the information, but we get that pertinent information, and we get to see Celie's understanding of life change and transform over time. And we get these deeply profound revelations from her sister Nettie, from her time in the States, from her time in Africa, and all that that means. It really is a well done piece of literature without the shadow of a doubt. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. So again, if you know someone who loves books that are written in this style, The Color Purple is the one. All right, our next recommendation is actually the one that I was saying that Between the World and Me is based on, and that is The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. Hopefully you know the name James Baldwin. If not, please familiarize yourself immediately. And this book is actually written to his nephew. And again, it's kind of similar to Between the World and Me. James Baldwin really delves into his experiences growing up as a young black boy in America to adulthood, all that it's meant. But the real big twist for this one is that he grew up in the church, and so he really delves into that and unpacks that for his nephew, how that has impacted him, the neighborhood, how the neighborhood influenced those who were in the church, how he saw similarities therein. And I really love this because he talks a bit about what I found to be true and sometimes disheartening. He talks about liberating Black people, and he says like how he realized that he will never be able to offer them anything as strong as their love for Jesus. And whew, that's a lot to unpack, and he does such a good job of it. It's so good. He delves into so much. And if you know anything from James Baldwin, whether that be a speech, whether that be a work of writing, you know that he is just profound. You know that he has a brain that thinks differently, and he's really able to dissect ideas in a way that only he can. So much so that his works from back in the day still remain relevant and pertinent to our times today, as if he was writing about our current situations. So again, James Baldwin is someone I recommend without even giving it a second thought. So definitely add that to the list of gifts that you'll gift an epistolary book lover. Last but not least is a book that I haven't reviewed here on the channel, but I may actually reread it and recommend it here. I've read it twice in my life. I could definitely go for a third time. That is The Perks of Being a Wildflower by Stefan Chbosky. This book, y'all, I don't know why I've never reviewed it because I love it so much. It is one of my favorite styles of writing with the Bildungsroman. I love a good coming of age story, and we get to follow this young, the movie is also well done, and I don't always say that, you know, for me most often the book is better than the movie, but this is one where I think they're both really good. And The Perks of Being a Wildflower, we follow this young man while he's writing these letters to someone he doesn't know. So that's interesting as well, but it allows it to be more of a journalistic type style, as if he's writing to himself. But he is coming into adolescence, young adulthood, and he's really grappling with the arguably mundane things of being a teenager, liking someone, trying to navigate home life, figuring out who he wants to be in the world, how he wants to be in the world, and all the challenges they're in, making friends, the complexities they're in, how he's choosing to deal with that, just different levels of exploration. But the twist that you get at the end of this book is one that guts you. Like, you don't really see it coming. It's so heavy because he adores this one person so much. He has such fond memories of them. They're no longer here. But, you know, this person pops up in his dreams so much, and he feels so much love for them. And then we learn that this person completely assaulted him when he was a child, and the revelation they're in, the pain they're in, but then coming to a place of healing from that. Oh, this work is just masterful. It does a great and brilliant job of encapsulating the young experience of trying to figure out life. So good. I love the style of writing because it is that personal, free-flowing style, and the writer just does a good job of keeping you engaged, even though, you know, you can argue, oh, teenagers go through things that don't matter, like they won't matter in 5 years. I always swore as a child, because I hated adults that navigated that way, I always promised as a child I would never forget what it meant and how it felt to be young. And so even though, you know, sometimes you see folks experience things and you're like, I promise, experiencing things, and you're like, I promise you this won't matter in 5 years, you can't say that, because in that moment, at that time, it's so real for them, it's so pressing for them. They're not imagining the next 5 years. When you're young, you know, that seems like an infinity away. And so I think this work does a really good job of reminding us of the challenging and difficult times of being a young person trying to figure out and find your way, and exploring that brilliantly. So I love this work. I love this work so much. Again, I love the movie as well. I think it's one of the rare occasions where they're equally, the book still has the edge, but they're both really good. So I would recommend either one without a shadow of a doubt, and the actors in the movie did a really good job as well. So those are all of my recommendations for books that you should give an epistolary lover. Let me know y'all thoughts down below. Are there any epistolary style books that you've read that you just loved? I really do enjoy this style of writing, so I would love to be put on to more works like this. But that is it for me. Until the next one, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. Please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the best day of your life on purpose. Please enjoy this holiday season and this Vlogmas season, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace, os lavo, adios, ciao.